I would like to call to the stage Ricardo Prates, Innovation Manager from SulAmérica. Clap of hands, please. Gustavo Correa, also from SulAmérica, System Projects Manager. And Ana Borges, Sensedia Consulting. It's a pleasure to have you here. Good afternoon. I'm going to give Ricardo the microphone. Good afternoon. How are you? It's quite hard to get in a dispute with the pudding. I also didn't want to come back after I ate my first slice, but I also gave the suggestion that next year we should bring the pudding to the room, so it will be easier to have everyone back. I have Gustavo here. He's the head of PI within SulAmérica for digital channels. So a lot of things that we're going to be showing you. He was in the lead. And Ana Paula, who is the specialist in API. When the concept was created, we called Ana Paula's Innovations. But then they could not live with that name, and then they named the application program interface. So, where are we? We are on the 8th of 2018. We are living the transformation area, the digital transformation era. We are not close to it, we are actually living it. And this is the scenario of where we are today. That is the intelligence revolution, especially artificial intelligence revolution. So today, every generation changes every 5 years. I'm a baby boomer. For those of you who do not like those labels, Generation X, Y, baby boomer, and so on, the best way to describe a baby boomer is to call tiozinho, which is slang in Portuguese to say uncle. So we are in a moment that on our era of tiozinhos, we used to change generations every 15 years, and then we moved to 10, and now we are on 5 years. So if you have a child, and then 5 years later you have another child, be aware that they're going to be part of 2 different generations. It's quite hard to understand all that, but that's what we're living right now. And SulAmérica is a very young, elderly company with 120 years old, but somehow we got to make sure that the company lives within the digital transformation area. And we cannot forget that we have someone who hired a health plan in 1979 and is still our customer today, but things were quite different at that time. But this customer still needs to be serviced with the contract that we signed so many years ago. So this is the world that we are living right now. It's digital, it's 100% connected, new customers, new customer habits, new products, artificial intelligence. Gustavo is going to talk about a little bit about it. APIs, IoT, mobile, blockchain. And if you'd like to know a little bit more about blockchain, there's someone who is really an expert on the topic, which is Leandro Duran. Duran, thank you so much. If they ask me what I'm going to answer, they're going to ask the specialist, that's you. So why are we here? We have a great challenge ahead of us, a big challenge, and I'd like to picture with this slide. And I'm not going to talk about SulAmérica only, but about big companies just like Whirlpool, Gerdau, Banco do Brasil. But if there is anyone here from any of those three companies, there are companies that have been with SulAmérica for over 100 years. And us, as being a big company, we are elephants because we've been created muscles and fat tissues with time. So we were able to sustain the operations through every single decade that we've been through. And, you know, those nice dogs that are running by us are the startups. One or two startups, probably they will not be strong enough to put an elephant down. But if you have a lot of them running together, then they will start making the life of the elephant a little bit harder. So our challenge is how we can do so an elephant will run at the same speed. How can we make the big companies to move at the same speed as the startups that are being born with no legacy? For them, it's so much easier because they are being created in a new technology model. They have no legacy. They do not need to manage a customer that has hired their service in 1979. Maybe in 30 years' time, they might have some issue related to what the big companies are having today. But today's reality is that they are growing in a very high speed, and we have to make sure our big companies will be the same speed as them. So this is a little bit about our approach on the innovation. So we work a lot on the good practice of those three concepts, which are design thinking, lean startup, and VE plus Scrum, which are used to identify an opportunity quite quick, to do a value engineering to identify what are the peak wings, and then finally comes to a definition of MVP, because we cannot allow any more waterfall of 2 years durations, because at the end of the projects we would find out we did not deliver what it needed and we had a lot of investment. And our focus has always been on the customer's experience. We have two directions in the company, which means that everything that digital or innovation area is going to do, if they do not answer yes for two questions, does aggregate values and diminish costs or improves drastically the experience of a customer or a supplier. If the question is not yes for at least one of those two questions, then we have to respond to our board and say you are not going to do it. The customer always right in the middle, right in the center, looking from the inside out. So it's a completely different approach that we used to do. The technology being an interface support, and the business we giving the user experience. What do we connect with through the technology? So different devices, different communications device. So I'm talking about a more broader experience, which we call the customer experience, which it is the customer's experience, which is quite wide up. And to make sure that all of those is working, then we work the net promoting score, which is a way that we can assess if everything is working accordingly. So two of the processes that we implemented, which is the digital reimbursement and doctors at home, they're not MVP, they are NLP, which you call the lovable product. So I'm talking about two solutions that have an NPS of 83 and 92, respectively. For those who knows the science behind the NPS, know the dimension of that, know how hard it is to reach this graduation in service that were built in less than 3 months. Now I'm going to be calling our Master Power API girl, Ana Paula's Innovation, to talk a little bit, to share with you how do the APIs can actually influence the innovations context. So good afternoon, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about how the APIs can help the companies with the digital area. today, those companies that are not adhering to innovation, is not going after a way of improving their business with technology, is staying behind. So the APIs, they are able to help you to improve your growth. So on their innovation, we have an ecosystem. We have an open innovation, which is when the company discloses its idea with the community, makes it easier that everyone will have access to that. We have the digital partnership, for example, an insurance company that opens their APIs for their partners, which are their insurance brokers. So they have a quicker way to reach the information. And you also have the internal APIs. We can never forget about them because we should always think about taking care of our house. And when we're going to follow up the innovation process, we think, no, we're going to do something different. We're going to innovate. So the first thing we do is we focus on business. We have to think about our core business. We have to take a look of what can your product offer to community. There is no point of trying to insert something that is not function for the whole. And simplicity, as Prates has mentioned, as we heard on the keynote in the morning, there is no point of doing a $2 million reais project that takes 2 years. Do the minimum as possible, deliver value for the customer, and then you're going to be evolving with the customer. And then when we work with APIs, what do we gain from it? We have the enrichment of the user's experience. Why? Because with the API, we do not have the need to open a VPN for every single customer. Let's register their IP on our port. So the user's experience, doesn't matter if it's a user from your system or not, will be optimized. So he will want to keep on working with you. The APIs open new channels. So once you are with everything ready, you have your customer. Your customer has already a contract well-defined, and then the prospects, the development portal will know, oh, I have this API, I want to consume these resources, I want those fields. So he will not need to send emails asking for docs. Do not need to know what kind of fields I need here, what can I see, what I cannot see. So the APIs, they make it much simpler. You also have the focus on the value proposition of your company. You're not going to be concerned about the minimum details. You already have the API portal. You already have a team being engaged on that. So you focus on delivering the best as possible for the customer. And then you have the standardization of the partners integration. Why? Because it's so... we usually see, one customer needs one format, the other customer needs another format, one needs one system, the other one needs another system. And API is making everything standard. You are able to say which field one partner can see, which field one partner cannot visualize, so you have the full control. And then here we have the ecosystem from Gartner. So today you have two options. You either run away or you participated on the platform ecosystem. So here what we see is that SulAmérica is embedded in the platform ecosystem. But in the future, maybe it could be in the IoT, on the consumer experience. So it's a world that we can expand. And that's it. Thank you so much. I'm going to pass on to Gustavo. Good afternoon. So I'm here only to put things in context. What Ana has just showed us, to bring a little bit of what we've done based on everything that she mentioned, on the universe of the context of what we need to have ecosystems of API that is consistent. So everything started with a challenge. So we received a challenge from Santander Bank. It launched an RFP in the market and put in a few provocations. They wanted to service the health and odonto profile. They wanted digital and customized assets. They wanted to have autonomy to create whatever they want with their portfolio. They want personalized service, a short deadline of implementation. And when you take a look from the SulAmérica point of view, that was one point that we were like, oh, maybe. And API, they really wanted APIs. And then based on this list, on those challenges, then we decided we would face it. And that's how we started our experience with this new philosophy of looking to our different service layers, our different data sets, on the formats of APIs, and looking for the whole context of APIs that we have. So the project worked. We were granted the case, and then based on this specific case, we learned so much, and we liked it. So now let's think about API. Let's take a look inside our company. Let's make our platforms more modern. Let's take a look at our partners. Let's think about our customers. Let's try to do something different. We were able to do it with Santander, so let's spread it out. So today with Sensedia, we define a few standards, some governance standards, and then we started doing it. Let's take a look at the business context as an operation context, on a way that we can actually service our broker. He's our main partner, our main customer. And let's take a look at their operation and use the APIs to deliver the service. And then from this point of view, we saw it that we needed to think about API as a business, not only looking to our company and saying we have a data, let's stabilize it. No, let's take a look from the point of view of the broker and make sure we can deliver them the best experience.
And looking at our 130 years of systems, we did something. We put some APIs together, and with our microservices, we are evolving a lot in that. And we started to deliver to those two main channels. That was the first ones from our journey to achieve the excellence in the API world. The mobile, they were something really important for us as a leverage, because we were able to get to the market with fast solutions, getting together with this challenge that we had with Santander. We acted Sensedia, we chose the operation. We are going to operate Watson. That's our cognitive intelligence from SulAmérica. We are escalating that day by day, and for our first operation, in a chat with the broker that we have, was delivering the products in the API model. Another success case, we like it so much. We saw a lot of gain with this API delivery. We need to create a structure that's multi-channel. And I think that this was the first recipe of success that we had. All the API that we create in SulAmérica today, it's multi-channel. When it appears, it's orientated by any channel, web channel, and we're going to do the same for the others. And we started to improve the experience of our customers, our brokers, always checking the information. Someone went to the chat for the broker, checked on Watson. It's the same journey that they can have in URA with the same document for those chat and mobile. We avoid with that rebuilding services. We were able to overcome some problems that we had in our layer of development. Based on that first case, the sky was the limit. We started to get everyone to the game. We invited everyone. We had some partnerships. Of course, Santander was the first one. We had some partnership to deliver new journeys, new products through APIs for cars and health. And we brought here some of the main partners that bought our idea. They agreed with our direction to deliver everything in APIs. So all of that, or they requested something and we delivered the API and we did something happen together as something relatively old for the person who's inserted in that context. And for business, is something that's being built now. We had a case that the person, I want an API, I want an API. We delivered, the guy said, what I do now? So sometimes we need to take them by the hands and show what they need to do and lead the situation. We just have cases here. Dockway, Autoglass, EasyCar, that are using the app. Caixa Seguradora was a recent case that we did really well. Gebran, other brokers, we delivered the API and they are assembling the journey as they want for their customers. So we have different types of options. Based on that, I'm going to tell you some cases. SulAmérica. Not only deliveries or integration with partners, but basically looking at the partners. The digital channels, they need to flavor from our APIs. And multi-channel, the API that I'm delivering in our broker portal, in the health portal, is the API that's for the broker, is the API that we can integrate with some business partners. And we can do nice things. For instance, when you have some accident with your car, and you check that in SulAmérica, we as employees, we cannot have that problem with our insurance company. So we see the customer, what this person is going through, because it's really hard when something happens, when the person is in an accident and they need SulAmérica to work with that process. It's a good experience. The person's already going through a problem, and this person needs to go through that in an easier way, in an efficient way. And we look at to our first version of our API for that. It was guided, we chose a channel, that's the broker portal. We created a journey with the brokers. We delivered guided to a channel, and we assembled an API. What we're going to do with that now? We delivered for mobile. For all SulAmérica channels, we delivered that. Collaborating with the case that I'm going to talk here, we have a partner, Caixa Seguradora. They said, I want an API for the people to report an accident. I want to use your experience. And we had a discussion. They wanted us to do front or not. We have API. We're going to deliver the API to you, and you do the way you want. And that was the success recipe. Nowadays, we make it possible. We help Caixa Seguradora to use their app. They didn't have an app. They were working with a lot of things there, do service and all of that. I said, no, calm down. We're going to help. We delivered that API to them, and they are implementing that in the app. Some operations from our internal APIs as insurance, they are connected to the app. what reinforces our desire to use API to everything related to channel. A recent delivery is brand new wallet. It took advantage of some things that we did before throughout that path to be mature, that we think that we are mature now. And talking with one of our partners, I have the possibility to integrate your wallet, integrate that in Android and iOS. I said, that's cool. You looked inside our house, our API governance believed on that idea, and we did a delivery that was not possible before from people in the business area. It's going to take a lot of time. We just looked to our structure for APIs and microservices, and we called Sensedia, and we said, we want to do that. You are on the right path. We went to the legacy. We got the information that that partner needed. This partner created that in the wallet standard, delivered to us throughout API, and we integrated that in our communication gateways. What I want to mean by that, we have a scenario that from the business areas is something that's simple, because people who asked that was a fluid integration. The person didn't see all the edges, and we started to bring this new perspective to our context. People look the business area, they look to our API cores, they ask a data in a context, and we go there and looking to everything that we need to integrate. We bring this API and you make the integrations smoothly. Who is from big companies, they have the same problem as SulAmérica. They know that projects that maybe it's going to would take 10 months, 6 months, we are delivering easier, delivering more value with APIs. And what we want to do before where we want to get, I brought a context how we are looking at the APIs inside our homes. We have all the digital channels. Our portfolio, we could have partners. We could have apps from partners, integrations. But I focused inside our home. We have the API gateway. Doing this intervention between the channels and the 130 years of SulAmérica, in our SulAmérica cloud, we have legacies that we are making them into microservices. We are unplugging that thing, making that in a more easier way to deal with that context. And when we are going to integrate with Sensedia, we are ruling our rules, each one in your own place. So those integrations are going to work well. We have a portfolio of 21 APIs in production, more than 60 operations, and 6 months, more than 73 million calls. And where we want to go. We talk a lot about journey, about user experience. SulAmérica wants to be a platform for experience. And looking at that perspective, what do we need to do? what is our road? We did our homework, went to the kitchen, we talked to everyone, we did a survey, and to go to the other side with that goal, we need to have an architecture that's less complex. We need to make sure the security of the perimeter. We are struggling with that. We don't have legacy system from Sensedia. Sensedia we don't have this possibility to escalate that. And in this agile world, collaborating with what Ricardo mentioned, is what's going to make this work. And now Ricardo again. I talked a lot. We ran out of time. I'm going to be quite fast. Thank you, Gustavo. Thank you, Ana. It's a little bit of the scenario that we live. The picture that you're going to see there is from September of 2016. That was the day that we had a contract from SulAmérica and Sensedia. When we were going through a hard time, when we won the bid from Santander, and we needed to solve the API problems. But we had as you were able to implement that platform, let's go into surf on that wave and do a lot of great things. So we chose a partner with some knowledge about the topic, and we had a meeting in an afternoon, and you closed the deal that's been running for 2 years, and we want to continue with that. And the future view that we have for API, that we need to make the legacy system more modern. We need to increase the level of maturity in our topic. Some people say that we are on a maturity level that's good. We are demanding. We need to prepare the mindset of the architecture so they can think APIs and make services that are distributed in the API first model. You heard about cloud first, mobile first, now API first. In the API stories, I did a spoiler that I was going to share with you a project that was born in SulAmérica that I'm going to show you. That's the project that we named Sing. This is something for the final customer in the website for SulAmérica. All the screens that you see in the project, since the entrance, the 3 steps of data of the card, insurance data, each step of that project, of that process, everything that you submit there is an API method, so we can get that information and put them together as the previous answers. So it was a project that was born, thought in API. He worked on the screen based on how this process should happen. And we named this project internally, it's called Sting, because I don't know if you know, Sting, the band. It was the first CD, the first compact disc to be sold in Brazil in the 80s. And we named this project Sting because we're not talking anything new here. I look to external context for the persons who work with high level of maturity in APIs, this is what we should have been doing for 5 years already. When I see Senova work the context of API, I see how much we need to go. But on the other hand, there are other big companies that are behind from what we are doing. So we need to look to the best. If someone would like to see how this works, to tag this QR code, it's a mobile first, API first, cloud first. You're going to be able to make a simulation. The screens that I'm showing you is the real simulation for insurance. HB20 car, just to create that. But we are able to do as you please. I see that Guilherme is taking a lot of pictures, and before he sent an WhatsApp complaining that the module is not there in the issuing partnership, I'm going to say that Amonde is a big partner from us, and we're going to have a new version for our for our vehicles app, and we're going to do that with Mondo. So if we have this lecture 1 month from now, Amonde would be there. It's another partner that quite soon is going to be their name in a big implementation through API that we are doing. This slide that I showed to you, how do you see this transformation? And you see that the API there is the item number 5. So you buy APIs. We have a number of APIs that they are ready to be used. Is where we are today. We did the mapping of use case. We did understanding of data. We changed data. We are good to do that. SulAmérica, we do this through inside the cloud place. We have data going through different places. Cloud consolidation is something that we are proud of. We were one of the first companies in Brazil, not about insurance, only to use the cloud-first model. Indeed, things are new in SulAmérica, and they are born cloud-first, and we are in the item 5. We need to improve the model so we can go to digital transformation. That's where we are. And the message that I give to you, that's if your company is not in item 4 or going from the item 4 to 5, you need to run. And we need to run a lot because we are in the middle of the way. Who is not there is really late. The challenge for you is, as we want to go to digital transformation, let's do that together. Thank you, Ana. Thank you, Gustavo. If you have any questions, if it's a hard question, it's for Ana. It's an average questions for him, and an easy one to me. Thank you.